Hi guys, we have the anticlimax this week of going from Test Rugby and back to Super Rugby.
Preach, bro.
So it is going to be tough, but before we move into talking about Super Rugby, let's reflect on the Boks series, and I think we want to look at the depth available. Probably both of us went with our heart over our head in backing the Boks to win with a bit of a changed up team for the final test, and with the wet weather around in Cape Town, it definitely played a part. And again, it exposed certainly for me problems they have in terms of their backup at fly half. I mean, I've got a lot of stick for having a go at Alton Jantjies, but he knows, I'm sure, as a player, that he had a really difficult game.
Yeah.
So fly half definitely a problem area. Who's the backup to Andre Pollard? Looking long term and towards the Rugby Championship, for me, Dwayne Vermeulen now not available during the championship. Warren Whiteley just coming back from injury. Number 8 is a problem position. And who's back up to Siya Kolisi? No specialist open-sided flanker really putting up his hand. And those, to me, are the 3 real positions where I'm not sure, looking long term and towards the World Cup, what we're going to do.
I completely understand your frustration with the whole Alton Jantjies thing. Like, I've been saying this for, I think it was preceding the All Blacks test in Cape Town last year, where I was just driving home the point that Alton Jantjies is a fine Super Rugby player, very competent at that level, but he's been given so many opportunities at test level now, where he's actually just shown himself to be a level short of being able to determine the outcome of a test at that level. And I think that's the measuring standard that we should use on our fly-offs. Can he win you a test match? Barrett can win the All Blacks test match. Johnny Sexton can win Ireland a test match. That's the standard that we need to be measuring our fly-offs by. Alton doesn't measure up there. There's some other areas that you noted. I can add to that list. I don't think Jesse Creel is the answer for us at outside centre. Should something happen to Am, who I thought showed up really well in the T series. You speak about Dwayne Vermeulen in that loose trio, and Siya Kolisi, but I think Flo can probably cover for Kolisi there should something happen, and I think Russ is a big fan of his, so hopefully his recovery is going well, his rehabilitation is going well. That test exposed a lack of depth, and I was harsh on them on Twitter afterwards. In hindsight, you kind of got to give some, in the sense that guys haven't played all test series, and to come into a situation like that is difficult. But so let's see how he builds that depth. Let's see the opportunities that they get at Test Rugby in the Rugby Championship, which is coming up now, and it can't come soon enough because the Super Rugby is just a lame duck, bro, and I think we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we, as tough as it is, but we've got to move on to talk about Super Rugby, and I want to talk about how we might improve the product. For me, it's great that they've cut back to 15 teams, but I'm desperately searching for the Super 12, which was when it was the competition was at its best for me. And I think there's a way to do it. For me, Sunwolves are not adding enough to the competition. I think we've got to accept that we can, or the competition organisers can cut that team from Japan. Australia don't deserve as many franchises as they've got. They're still producing generally a poor product. Drop the worst performing Australian team at the moment. It may be the Reds. So be it. And I believe there's a lot of interest from other South African teams to begin the move north to join the likes of the Cheetahs and the Kings playing in the Pro 14. So canvas to the other South African franchises who want to go north, cut one more. That's 3 gone, back to Super 12, a straight round format, and playoffs, just a semi and a final, can be done before the June test window, so we don't have this period now like we're talking about where you break, go to Test Rugby, and then anticlimax back to Super Rugby.
I like that. Like, that format for me in an ideal world is the one we should go with, right? But I don't see them cutting the competition to 12 teams. So don't get me wrong, your format is for me the ideal one. In a real world, they're most likely to add teams, and if they want to expand the game, which seems to be kind of the crutch that they're leaning on, then have a 2-tier system where there's 10 teams per tier, and you add 5 from wherever. We was culled from the top 10, so to speak, filters into tier 2, and then expand the game to the US or whatever other territories you want to populate that roster in tier 2. and then have a straight relegation promotion situation across those 2 tiers. That for me is kind of a more realistic scenario. And don't get me wrong, again, I want to drive home that a Super 12 is kind of where we should be living at. In the absence of sanity like that, probably a 2-tier system for me would work best. And I think the English Championship markets it really well, although it's kind of an unfair system where they really hype that playoff scenario at the end of the season, and stadiums are full, TV audiences go through the roof. I mean, even I watch that, and I'm primarily a Premier League viewer and supporter, but that's how I think that the competition should be structured going forward, because you and I mean, it's our job to cover rugby, but we want to have fun doing it as well. I don't have fun covering Super Rugby.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, we have to get ourselves up. If we look at predictions now for the Sunwolves versus the Bulls, who've now travelled over to Singapore. So looking at a prediction there, I mean, the Bulls have picked a pretty strong team, and the Sunwolves, although they've won a couple of games, just before the break, they to me are not going to offer much. Bulls by 10, but yeah, try to get excited about that one.
Good trip for the Bulls though. I wouldn't mind going to Singapore for a little while, for a week, and cruising around the city and playing some rugby incidentally. But yeah, I don't see the Sunwolves mounting too much of a challenge here. The Bulls, I mean, they've got to get themselves up. Now we're talking about not being able to get ourselves up, but they have to mount a challenge for that playoff place. So yeah, I think Bulls comfortably there by 10 to 15. I think it'd be very comfortable.
Yeah, and then one we can actually look forward to, Sharks Lions, should be a great derby in Durban. It'll be interesting to see how the two teams perform after a bit of a break. A few guys coming back into the mix from the box and so on, in terms of how they're going to integrate them. The Lions, they haven't been defeated in a derby for 21 games. It's quite an incredible record they've got against the local teams, and especially the Sharks they've done very well against in the last couple of years. So for me, a difficult one to call. I really think it could go either way, but with Marks and Warren Whiteley coming back to fitness, I'm just going to back the Lions to edge it 3-5.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that record. I didn't know that stat, and it's not surprising for me, because they seem to have worked out. Well, clearly they've worked out a formula to win away from Ellis Park, which is so critical in the local conference, which is so critical to how they've mounted their challenge over the last couple of years, and is the blueprint, I think, for other South African franchises as well. Like, considering that they've lost Ackerman, well, Johan and Ruan, but and some other key players as well, to sustain that challenge on a local front at least is really impressive. Yeah, I don't see anyone breaking their streak this year. I think they're the best South African franchises by a distance, and I see them winning again 7-10 in this case.
Yeah, and then the final one, injury hit Stormers have had to travel now to Argentina. Really tough for them guys, like Siya Kolisi desperately needing a rest, still being dragged over on that long haul trip. So I really feel for those guys who really need a rest, and that's another debate for probably another time in terms of how these players are being managed. But also quite interesting was that the Jags really performed well before the June break, and yet their national team was awful in that international window. But the Stormers, they've been hopeless away from home. I don't think that's going to change here. I think the Jaguars will win by 8-10.
Yeah, the Stormers could fly their best side over there and still lose. That's how. I mean, that's kind of the lot at this point. I don't know how many times I've got to say that Robbie Fleck is not the coach for them, and yet he continues to get the support of the bigwigs at Super Rugby. I don't get it. Like they wouldn't win that game even if they fielded their best 23. That's kind of where they're at this point, and even more so now with the Jags team that seem to have found their stride before that June test window. They're gonna batter them up front, like really they are, and I see them winning comfortably. And when I say comfortably, I mean I can see them going away by like 12 to 15 over this Stormers team, and possibly more. I think that it could get ugly at some point.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, thanks, Ryan. Let's hope maybe that the Super Rugby product surprises us this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.